is the dream of anyone who gets to introduce greatness, that they will do a great job and then the person they introduce will completely top them. Our third story in the countdown, so it was for documentarian Ken Burns, who will join us in a moment, chosen to compile the film that would introduce Senator Kennedy at the Democratic Convention a year ago last night, if the senator made it. As you heard Bob Shrum say in the tape before the commercial, it was not mortality, but a kidney stone that threatened the senator in Denver. Not 24 hours after rumors of his demise were so greatly exaggerated, the senator made it, gave not just a speech, but a great speech, and ultimately his last great speech.
And this is the cause of my life, new hope, that we will break the old gridlock and guarantee that every American, north, south, east, west, young, old, will have decent, quality health care as a fundamental right and not a privilege.
The will he make it or not mix of dread and hope that preceded that address came in the context of the work to come, a tribute to Senator Edward Kennedy.
The sea, for me, has always been a metaphor of life. I mean, the sea is a constantly evolving, changing, shifting aspect of both nature and of life.
Joining me now, the man who made that film, Ken Burns. Ken, good evening.
Hi, Keith. Not great circumstances.
Well, I appreciate your taking the time tonight. That film, your tribute before the senator's last great speech, tell us something about the experience of making it.
You know, I've had, since he gave that speech, a message on my cell phone thanking me after all that he went through that night, and I couldn't bear to listen to it today. I just am terrified of hearing it. It's been a pretty tough day. He was amazing. He was gregarious, generous, disciplined, driven the whole time we were making it. He knew what he wanted to say, what he wanted to do. I've been in touch with him over 20 years, and he was amazing putting that film together in such a short time under the circumstances that he faced. You know, I could only sort of hang on to Shakespeare today, and I found some Henry V, and he would have, I think, appreciated it. He said, "A good leg will fall, a straight back will stoop, a black beard will turn white, a curled pate will grow bald, a fair face will wither, a full eye will wax hollow, but a good heart is the sun and the moon, or rather the sun and not the moon, for it shines bright and never changes, but keeps its course truly." This is a man who loved the sea, who kept his course truly, and he's still there. It was amazing to work with him, Keith.
And clearly, throughout his voyages, and the many different voyages, he had a perfect sense of what was left to be done, where yet he had to steer. Did he have an equal clear awareness of what was behind him, of what he had accomplished?
You know, he had this incredible modesty with all of this. I'm sure he knew what he had done. He didn't brag about it. He was always looking forward. It was always the battle up ahead. But, you know, when they write the history of the United States Senate, it will be him and Daniel Webster, and Daniel Webster will be honored to be in his company.
The Kennedy memoir, the True Compass, fittingly, will be published next month. You saw him, obviously, through the lens of a biographer. Something that might surprise us about how Senator Kennedy viewed his own life that you know and we don't?
You know, I think it's been said all day today about family, about faith. People loved him. They called him Teddy. People who weren't even family members called him Uncle Teddy. They loved him. I loved him. You know, when I went to start talking to him about the film, he wanted to talk about the Red Sox. Mike is absolutely right. One of the joys of his life. I think it was just sense of realness, of authenticity in him. To sing a song, to recite a bit of poetry, to tear up maybe, to remember a graduation or a birthday, to be generous with all around him. It's what we've been talking about all day, but we cannot understate how incredibly important a contribution. And then when you look at his public life, all that he has accomplished, it is a huge, huge void. It is night on Marchant Avenue tonight in Hyannisport, Massachusetts.
In your video tribute last year, Victoria Kennedy said he's the Pied Piper of our family, but obviously he was to so many in this country. Was it, you mentioned family, was it family? Was it his second wife that had so much to do with him being able to reinvigorate seemingly in the middle of his career and just jump right back into the forefront in the 80s?
Yes, Vicky's a huge force. She's wonderful. She's driven. She's determined to. And as every sailor knows, sometimes the wind dies down and then it comes back again. And she gave him that wind in his sail and gave him that extra oomph. You know, it's been a year since that film premiered, and he's there because of her will. She lifted him up in so many, many ways. She is a force of nature herself. She gave me this... I
was going to ask you, tell me about the bracelet.
She gave me this bracelet when we were working on the film a little bit over a year ago. Ted Strong, you know, we've seen others, different colors, different things. I haven't taken it off, you know. The whole year, I've worn it every single day, as has, you know, John Kerry and his friend Chris Dodd, and it means a lot. And this morning I woke up and I looked down at this thing, and I can't take it off. You know, the dream shall never die, and that was Vicky's doing. She knew that we could all lift him up with our love and our prayers and our good wishes, as I'm sure every American feels right now. Just this sense of palpable loss for this extraordinary human being.
Don't take it off. It's a privilege. Documentary filmmaker Ken Burns, who produced that video tribute to Senator Kennedy at the Democratic National Convention in Denver last year. As always, my friend, great thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Keith.